Morphin time and costumes. There was a recent auction. If I don't know if you guys, I think both of you, Karen, it was Catherine.
Yeah,
it was Catherine.
Oh.
Is yours on?
Hello?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So what did you guys think about the Hasbro selling off all on the props and costumes, and what was your ideas on that?
Well, it was a little bit bittersweet, just because.
That's the word right there.
Yeah, we didn't get anything. None of us have anything. I do have my turbo suit, but only because Jason Frank stole it. But we just didn't get any of the paraphernalia. So it's kind of interesting that Hasbro sold it and made so much money when they could have given all of us a suit and still sold suits, because we had more than one suit. So that's how I felt at first, but then I kind of went past that and felt like this is a beautiful opportunity for fans to have something from the show that really means a lot to them. So I kind of went full circle.
Yeah, she's nicer than me. No, I felt like, the only silver lining I felt was kind of what she said was, for 30 years, they've just been rotting away in a box in a warehouse somewhere, And so at least now I know, there are a whole lot of fans, and a lot of them got in touch with me. They were like, I got this, they were so excited. And so now it's gonna be loved, and it's gonna be cherished, and all that good stuff. But she's right. They could have totally hooked everybody up with the suit. There was multiple suits for each of us. There was stunt suits.
Helmets.
Yeah, there was so much, and we didn't get anything, and we didn't steal anything, and we should have. I don't condone stealing, but that's the one thing I regret. I should have just taken it. But I thought, they're gonna call the police. I was like, I don't know why I was so afraid. But yeah, that's the only, it's very bittersweet.
Did you see?
Yeah, they already said it all right there. How much more I can say about it. I wanted that stuff too, and I'm happy that the fans are going to be able to get it, but it would have been cool to have some of that stuff for ourselves.
Jason Font bid on his suit, and he got his suit for $5,000.
Oh, see, but that makes me mad. Jason Font should not have paid $5,000 for his own suit that he made famous.
Yes.
That his character, he brought that character to life, and I love that Saban had this crazy idea. If you watch the Japanese show and you go, how did they take that and make this? It's crazy that they thought of it. So there's some genius there. But all of the actors, we brought those characters to life, and that would have been the most beautiful thing. 30 years, that would have been a beautiful gift. So, and it's funny because those SPA suits that Johnny and I wore, we literally begged them on the set. We were like, please give them to us. They're like, no, we gotta archive them. We gotta, and then they were for sale.
Lame.
Wah, wah, wah. Yeah.
That was one thing I was really surprised to see, that they were selling the Once and Always stuff. That was a brand new stuff, made for you guys, basically. So, I don't know what Hasbro, I may know a little bit, but I didn't know a little bit what Hasbro's planning, but.
The civilian clothes we wore in Once and Always, they wanted to keep, and they didn't sell those in the auction, so I'm wondering if that's going to be the next auction.
Oh yeah, that's right.
There's another one coming.
It's October, is there something like that?
Next year.
Next year. Oh, okay. So, Once and Always, you guys, all three of you came back to Once and Always. Now, what was it like? You guys were in the Saban era. Obviously, there's Saban, Disney, and Neo Saban. What was it like coming back from back in the day to now with Hasbro? What was the differences you guys saw?
The budget?
Yeah, the budget.
Yeah, it was a bigger budget for sure, but honestly, for me, it was how you guys as the fans, you get nostalgia when you meet us or whatever, but we got nostalgia stepping onto those old sets, they had recreated the juice bar, that's the same one that was from 30 years ago, and it looked exactly the same, and I was like, wow, this is bringing back memories for me.
He and I were together and went in, and they showed us Rita's dumpster, and then we went into the Moon Palace and the juice bar, and we were freaking out. We were like, oh my gosh,
it was so cool to see all that stuff recreated.
Yeah, and when we got there, Johnny and I got there, it was she took us on the same tour. We were like, get out of town.
Yeah.
And what's crazy was my stunt double was now the director, the second unit director, and so it was just we saw those guys, and we were like, oh, it was we were literally hugging them, and it was beautiful to go to New Zealand, because the show's obviously been there for 20 years. It's been there longer than it was here in America, and so to know a lot of those crew. They'd worked on the show for 20 years. Like,
Yeah.
this was their baby as much as it was ours. And so it was really nice to finally meet everybody.
Yeah.
It was very cool.
I heard a lot, like David Yost had a lot of notes for when he got on set. Now, I'm kind of
He
curious.
always has notes.
Did you guys have any notes, or what were your thoughts when you got onto set? Like, oh, maybe that's not right, or maybe you guys should do this. Was there anything you guys kind of thought?
I felt like it was a lot more, they were a lot more specific about the way we morphed. Like, we were doing a stunt rehearsal for the morphing, and Steve and I were a little bit like,
Yeah,
it's
I remember
like,
they were
what?
putting a lot of emphasis on it.
Yeah,
It was
it's like
that's
we
not how
had
we
to
did it.
put our arm, and I was like, they're like, you need to stand like this first, and we were like, but we didn't do that. But like we just morphed. It's like it was just a little bit overthought. And then I had to say pterodactyl for the first time. I remember being a little bit nervous about that because I'd never said it before, and I was like, oh, they're gonna compare me with Amy Jo, So yeah.
Anything for Karen?
We actually had a lot of questions because like when we came in, we didn't understand like what is this, and Johnny was like emailing them, asking all these questions, and he was like texting me like in the middle of the night. We'd be texting at like 2 in the morning, and he was like, "Are we SPD? Like what's going on?" Or we really didn't know. And luckily though, he was asking all these questions because then the next time we got a draft, we were SPA, and it was like some of the things that he was asking actually got answered, and I think it was important because fans would have been like, "What is this?" They still had questions at the end, but I think a lot of the things he helped kind of tie up the loose ends.
Anything for you, Steve? Anything for you that you kind of like, you guys can fix this?
No, I didn't have any questions with it. I honestly just sort of rolled with it. I was just happy to be there, and I'm like, whatever. As long as the suit looks the same and all that, it's fine. The morphing sequence, I remember that they were a little bit like retentive about that, but other than that, I was fine with it. I liked the script. I thought it was cool. And honestly, though, I really felt like Dave did give a lot of good notes and stuff. So I was actually really kind of pleased that he was so hands-on with it. Offering that stuff that maybe we didn't want to say. So I think that was good.
Yeah.
I think the only note I heard about was the viewing globe. He didn't like the viewing globe. Was there anything else?
Yeah, I was a bit confused about that because the viewing globe was where we used to always watch like what was going on in Angel Grove.
There wasn't a
and
viewing globe?
They didn't use the viewing globe in the episode. And so
there was some kind of monitor that we were looking at rather than the viewing
tech
globe.
Forward.
High tech. Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why. Maybe it was because he was like, well, we've grown past the viewing globe now.
Upgrades, Wi-Fi upgrades. We don't need the viewing globe anymore.
We didn't have Wi-Fi in 94,
Yeah.
95. There was barely Wi-Fi.
Now, the special ended very, very open-ended, right? And then it was obviously done.
Yeah, they really did leave it open, like they were, going to make more stuff. I thought they were going to.
Do you guys have any ideas? Or I know, Karen, we talked about the SPA idea. We've talked to Catherine about what you think. What would you have liked to see if they kept on going with it?
Well, there was two things I thought were going to happen. I thought they were either going to do a spin-off and do like the Rangers were like mentors and maybe their kids were now going to be the new Rangers or something like that, or they were going to do like specials like they did the MMPR special. Maybe they would do a Zeo and a Turbo, like do different specials for each season.
But only stuff where they bring us back.
Only,
no,
yes,
no, none of
only
the other.
that.
Mandatory.
It's always got to be us.
Yeah, mandatory.
Yes, and then I also
And then they
thought
threw it in the trash.
It would be really cool if they took the comics and made the comics a show. 'Cause
Yeah, there are a
so-
lot of ideas that Boom Studios and those writers have created on the storylines they've taken.
Yes.
There's so much to work with. There's so much material there. I mean, I really feel like they're dropping the ball in that regard.
I do too. I mean, literally, like after we did the special, like me and Melissa Flores had a dinner. Like we just go to dinner at least every couple months, and she was like, "Tell me about this and tell me about that." And she was like asking me all the questions of what we did, and then she wanted to know more about SPA, and I was like, "We totally pitched them. Like we were like, think Guardians of the Galaxy meets Power Rangers, and it's all former Power Rangers but from different seasons, and we make up the Space Patrol team, and this is how we introduce the Space Patrol." She's like, "Oh my God, that's great. We should do that in the comics if they don't do it in the TV show." And I go, "They're not going to do it in the TV show." They were like, "Thank you, but no thank you." So, but I told her, I was like, "Yeah, it'd be great to do it in the comics." I mean, I think that's a really cool idea.
Yeah. Speaking of the comics, I've talked to Melissa too before. She's always been like, I mean, the comics are the comics. I don't know if they'll ever do, you know, it on screen. We want them to, but that's a high grade decision. But Steve, you just wrote a story for the comics.
Yes.
Cathrine,
Yeah.
you had a lot of input on some comic book story as well. We'll start with you, Steve, since you just wrote the recent one. What was it like going through that process with Boom and kind of like getting that story together for you?
Yeah, well, I mean, thankfully, I was teamed up with Matt Groom, who is one of the writers for them, and he's actually written some stories about Rocky. And you know, a long time ago, when Boom first started doing stories, you know, when she first started doing Power Rangers, I had told them that, you know, some of the background of Rocky's character was that he had a large family, and that he was like, it was like, you know, his mom was a single parent, and that he has to do a lot of, like, not only did he have to do all the schoolwork and, you know, and all the Power Ranger stuff, but he also had to, like, teach martial arts at the youth center, and then he also had to take care of his, you know, younger siblings as well. So he always had a lot on his plate. And so...
That sounds like you.
You.
Nothing like me. Other than I had a large family growing up.
Cleaned up
Other than
version
that-
of you.
Taught martial arts though.
Oh, well, I did do that too, yeah. You know, it was like, you know, trying to come up with a story. I was like, well, look, you know, what about this idea that, hey, you know, Rocky's like so overworked that, you know, somehow, you know, he forgets to put his morpher away, and, you know, his little sister finds it, you know, like, oh, now what's going to happen if, you know, his secret gets discovered, and all of a sudden, you know, his sister, you know, finds the morpher, and then she pushes the button, and then next thing you know, she's suited up. And now she's like running around wreaking havoc in the city because she's got all these powers, you know, and she doesn't know how to use them, and gets herself into trouble, and then the Rangers have to come and save. You know, so I thought that might be a good storyline, and how could we tell something like that, you know, to sort of get this idea about what Rocky's life is outside of, you know, just the Ranger stuff that he does. And so that was good. And so I kind of gave them that idea, and then he ran with, you know, fill in all the words and the right things to say, and that's kind of how that story came about.
Yeah, it was really
You're a
good.
storyboarder now. That's basically what
You totally did it. I love that. Good job,
cool.
Steve.
Any interest in doing more of that?
I need a copy of that, and I need it autographed.
Okay, no problem. Yeah, I mean, I would do more if they asked me, you know, but I don't know. I don't want to, like, spend a bunch of time creating something and they go, okay, great, thanks. Now, I don't want to waste time. Like, if you come to me, I'll do it. But if I have to come to you and beg you to do something, you know, most likely you don't want me anyway. Yeah, exactly.
And Cathrine, we had talked about, you had a lot of input on the after story with in between Dino Thunder and
Yes.
the Ninja Steel
Yes.
anniversary. What was that like?
Yeah, Melissa, she's such a great writer. She's so talented, and she wanted to do a story to kind of fill the gap of how Tommy and Kat ended up getting back together, because of Dino Thunder. You never hear him mention anything about me. So she was kind of just asking, where do you think Kat went, and how do you think they reunited, and I just liked the idea of that they went their separate ways, and then they reunited later on in life, and that's kind of where we went with it.
I loved it. It was there was a good moment in there where you had to go save
him.
Tommy.
I saved Tommy. Yes.
In a wedding dress.
In a wedding dress. Yes. No, that was really cool.
That was really, any interest?
Yes.
Any other ideas for you as well? Like maybe going back to helping Melissa on another story, short story.
I liked consulting. I haven't written a comic. I'm a little bit intimidated by that. That's why I was so impressed by you guys doing it. But yeah, I do have some ideas, but I kind of feel like Steve. I'm like, let's see if they want to be
right.
too.
It's like, you know, come to me if you want, you know. You have that. I can tell you I have an idea, and then if you say, okay, let's
go with
for
it.
Yeah, then
Yeah.
I'll do it. You know, otherwise I'm not just gonna like volunteer all my stuff, you know, and then all of a sudden it ends up in a story that I didn't contribute to.
Yes, we can learn the hard way with that, huh?
They were kind of like, when they promoted that book, it was kind of promoted as like, this might be an anthology. Like, we might be getting multiple issues with like the Rangers coming back, and were they say anything like that, or is this just like kind of a one shot, or from Steve?
Yeah, Steve, did they say they were going to continue?
I don't know. They didn't say anything about like that to me. You know, I actually, when they approached me about it, I didn't realize that it was going to be all those stories in one book together like that. I thought each of us were going to get our own story. You know. Yeah, it's all in one book. Yeah, and each story is only like 8 pages long. You know, so.
Well, the New More Callback's about 12, what is it? Maybe 20 pages long actually. So that's about half a story.
Yeah.
And then Karen, I know you want to do that SPA story so bad.
Yeah, but
I think we should. Yeah, I think
you can put that together for
right.
For
I
Boom
know.
Studios.
Maybe one day.
And your idea is Guardians of the Galaxy goes Power Rangers.
Yeah, like I mean, think about it. If we, I mean, I love Marvel and I love Guardians of the Galaxy. It's one of my favorite stories, and it's one of the best stories because it's about I mean, they really go deep on the characters and who they are as people and how they became here and what, you know, it's like that final Guardians, I mean, I was bawling. Like, I was like, oh, it was always about Rocket, you know? It was just like, oh, it was so deep and so great. And it just was such a cool situation. So I think, like, if you did something like that with a lot of heart and a lot of, you know, you have this, you know, former Rangers and they have to come together and they have to do something, you know, and they come back, you know, and they're kind of back in action just because they're forced into a situation that's, you know, they can't control. So, and they risk it all. I think it would be awesome. And then later,
Nakia
you know,
hinted at it in her comic.
But I
she?
still
Okay.
think
And
that
Johnny.
whatever.
oh really?
You and
Okay.
Johnny are
I
in,
just
are
think
in
whatever's
space.
done next should be an actual movie, though. You know
I
what
think so,
like,
too.
And honestly, and guys, you should all get behind this and put the word out there in the universe. Like, we need Adi Shankar to do that movie. He needs to be
Right.
the guy because he is incredible. If you guys ever saw that YouTube parody he did, that really dark Power Ranger
Power
thing.
slash
I
Rangers.
mean, it was, you know, it was over the top on purpose, and it was over the top dark on purpose. But if you could see the visuals of it, like, it was so good, you know. And
You get 1 million plus likes in one day. I mean, that says something.
You know, and it's
Well,
like,
when I
and
get
I
to-
know that he loves Power Rangers, like, which is why he made that thing in the first place. And I know that he would love to do something, you know, like that again. So he needs to hear it from you guys, though. So maybe you guys need to reach out to him and tell him it's time that we need to make a real Power Ranger movie. You know, that's
Yeah, it's
true
all up to
what the
them. Because
fans
anytime
want.
they demand something, then they usually get it. So you guys just gotta start to write those very stern emails, guys. Come on.
Comment on Instagram on the Hasbro Pulse one. So, we're coming to the end. So the last thing I'm going to ask you guys, because I've talked to, I think you guys are familiar with me. I talked to a lot of Rangers, and they've always told me, like, I wish I would have kind of done this or done that. If you guys could go back in time and say, like, you know, you wish you could have told your younger self something when you're on the show, what would you have said? I'll start with you, Catherine.
Oh gosh, the pressure's on. I think I would have said, stop worrying so much what people think and enjoy the moment, stay in the moment. I was just a very insecure young lady. And I think I wish that I had have gotten out of my head sometimes and just enjoyed the moment more.
I don't know. I mean, we had a really cool run. I mean, it was really cool. I think the only thing I would have done is stop and smell the roses because it went by so fast. And so it was like we were doing all these things and we were going to all these places and it was just happening so fast. And so, like, you blink and it was like, wow, a whole year and a half has gone by and, you know. Yeah, and I think if
It happened pretty quick for us.
yeah, and if we would have just
It was
sat there and
whirlwind.
kind of took it in a little more, I think that would have been awesome. I would have wanted to do that.
The only thing I would have liked to have changed is I probably would have stuck it out and did the Turbo movie and the Turbo season and finished that out and left with the rest of my castmates. You know, and the other thing I would have told myself is buy Bitcoin. When you could get it for 0.8 cents a coin.
Right, why didn't we buy Bitcoin? Dang it.
I would have invested in Apple, but that's just me.
Oh yeah, Amazon. I wish I'd thought of Amazon. Damn it.
Well, guys, I want to thank you for joining us today. I
Thank
appreciate
you, guys.
Thank you
Thank you all.
guys. Yes.
We love you. Come see us tomorrow at our
Yeah.
table. We're leaving for the day, but come visit
Tomorrow
us.
we'll be there. We'd love to meet you. We
gonna be
obviously, we obviously have stuff you can buy, but even if you don't come and buy, just come and say hi. We'd love
Yes.
to meet you. Thank you so much for having us, NostalgiaCon.
Yes, we love
Thank
you
you,
guys.
guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.